Imagine being told your enemy is coming to destroy you, but they have to cross one of the most brutal mountain ranges on Earth to do it, in the dead of winter. With an army of 90,000 men and 37 war elephants, you'd probably laugh. Rome laughed too. They shouldn't have. Hannibal Barca, the Carthaginian general who pulled off one of the most audacious military maneuvers in all of human history. A man so dangerous, Roman mothers would whisper his name to frighten their children. Hannibal is at the gates. Let's go back to 218 BC. To understand why Hannibal crossed the Alps, you need to understand where he came from and the burning hatred that fueled him. Hannibal was born in 247 BC in Carthage, a powerful North African empire that controlled much of the Mediterranean trade. Carthage and Rome were bitter rivals. They had already fought one devastating war, the First Punic War, and Carthage had lost badly. Hannibal's father, Hannibal Barca, was a brilliant general humiliated by that. According to legend,
"Please, father, let me join the campaign."
When young Hannibal begged to join a military campaign, his father agreed, but only if Hannibal swore an oath of eternity, and he kept that oath for the rest of his life. By age 26, Hannibal had taken command of Carthage's army in Spain. Charismatic, fearless, and tactically brilliant, his soldiers didn't just respect him, they worshipped him. He ate the same food as his men, slept on the same ground,
For Carthage!
fought on the front lines.
Follow me!
Rome was growing more powerful by the day. Hannibal knew that if Carthage was going to survive, he had to strike Rome hard, and do it before Rome struck first. His plan? Attack Rome directly, on its own soil. But how do you move an entire army from Spain to Italy? By sea? Rome controlled the Mediterranean. How do you move an entire dame from Spain to Italy? In the spring of 218 BC, Hannibal set out from Cartagena, Spain. 90,000 infantry, 12,000 cavalry, and 37 African war elephants. These weren't small animals. These were massive, trained battle beasts, living tanks designed to terrify enemy soldiers and crush formations. The journey from Spain to the Alps alone was brutal. Hannibal crossed the Pyrenees first, then marched through what is now southern France. Hostile tribes. By the time Hannibal reached the Rhone River, he'd already lost thousands of men, and he hadn't even reached the Alps yet. Crossing the Rhone was its own nightmare. Wide, fast, and freezing of thousands of soldiers across was hard enough. Getting war elephants across, nearly impossible. Hannibal's engineers built massive rafts, covering them with soil and grass to trick the elephants into walking onto them. Some panicked mid-river and fell in. But incredibly, their trunks acted as natural snorkels, and most survived. This alone should have ended the campaign, but Hannibal pushed on. Then, in October 218 BC, the army reached the foot of the Alps, and the real nightmare began. The Alps in October are merciless. Temperatures plunged below freezing. Snow and ice covered the narrow mountain paths. There were no roads, just treacherous trails. And somewhere in those mountains, hostile Gallic and Alpine tribes were waiting. They knew Hannibal was coming. On the fourth day, the tribes ambushed from the cliffs above, rolling boulders down onto the army, cutting off the rear column. The chaos was horrific. Soldiers fell off cliff edges, horses panicked and dragged men to their deaths. War elephants became nearly uncontrollable. They survived, barely. But the mountains weren't done with them. As they climbed higher, the paths were covered in old frozen snow, with fresh snow on top. Men couldn't get traction. Every step forward risked sliding off a cliff into nothing. The war elephants suffered most. Their weight made every icy step potentially fatal. Then, near the summit, disaster. A massive landslide had destroyed the only path forward. Any other general would have turned back. Hannibal ordered his men to make a new path. They spent 3 days cutting through solid rock, heating boulders with fire, then pouring vinegar to make them crack. Agonizingly, they carved a route wide enough for the elephants to pass. 3 days in a blizzard. on top of the Alps. Against all odds, the path was made.
Move forward!
This moment alone tells you everything you need to know about Hannibal Barca. After 15 days in the Alps, the army finally began its descent into Italy, but at a devastating cost. Of the original force, only about 20,000 infantry remained, around 6,000 cavalry, and just a handful of elephants. He had lost nearly two-thirds of his army, not to Roman swords, but to cold, starvation, falling rocks, and frozen mountain paths. By any measure, the campaign should have been over before it started. But here's the thing about Hannibal. He wasn't just a survivor, he was a genius. By any measure, the Trebia, he crushed a Roman army. At the Battle of Lake Trasimene, he ambushed and annihilated another. And then came Cannae in 216 BC, perhaps the greatest tactical victory in military. Facing 86,000 Roman soldiers, Hannibal had just 50,000. He deliberately weakened his center, drawing the Romans in, then swung his flanks around and completely encircled them. By the end of the day, over 70,000 Roman soldiers were dead. Rome was on the verge of collapse. All of this because one man refused to be stopped by a mountain. Hannibal never actually conquered Rome. Political support from Carthage dried up. He was eventually forced out of Italy and defeated at the Battle of Zama in 22 BC. Hannibal died in exile in 118 BC, taking poison rather than surrendering to Rome. 2,000 years later, military academies around the world still study Hannibal. His tactics at Cannae influenced Napoleon, Rommel, and commanders in virtual. The crossing of the Alps stands as one of history's greatest acts of sheer human will. Not because it was smart, because it was impossible, and he did it anyway. The next time you face something insurmountable, remember a Carthaginian general at the foot of the Alps in October, 90,000 men and 37 battles. Neither should you.